We need to kind of identify the power imbalance. When someone is giving care, there's a degree of power that they have over the person who needs care. And that's something that needs to be in the forefront of our mind. Let's kind of draw some of this to a close by kind of speaking about something that we've spoken about before, which is that beautiful reciprocity that emerges between a person who provides care and a person who receives care. Okay, getting a caretaking situation, a caregiving situation into that space of reciprocity is a journey. It takes work. There is trial and error, things go wrong, there is negotiating grief, negotiating pain, suffering of different dimensions. It's relationship building. It is building an attachment of caregiving and receiving. It's work, okay? And sometimes that goes really, really well, and we see that that's going well by that beautiful reciprocity that emerges that we've spoken about, where the caregiver is giving care and the receiver is receiving that well as best they can, and in acknowledging the caregiver in that, and there's a harmony in that. When that's not going well, I think what we see is almost a caregiver who perhaps wants to give care, wants to do the right thing, maybe has other feelings about that in the background, and inadvertently, a lot of times, is treating the person in need of care almost like an object in need of care. An object and they are doing their best and doing their best for them, but they still won't receive. It's like the parent who almost gets frustrated with the child who doesn't want to do what they want them to do. The parent is trying really, really hard, and the child is still kind of protesting and saying no. And any, attuned parent is going to say, what's going on with this kid? And I'm certainly not comparing elders to children here. Let's not be confused there. What I'm doing is highlighting a human dynamic in situations of care, and sometimes situations where there is a power imbalance. We need to kind of identify the power imbalance. When someone is giving care, there's a degree of power that they have over the person who needs care. And that's something that needs to be in the forefront of our mind. And subtle things can go very wrong there. And if a person who is receiving care is getting the sense that this person has power over them and is using it in subtle ways that they don't like, they will protest in all manner of different ways, okay? That's what I think we need to be mindful of. Sometimes people are resistant to us when we are not going about it the right way. And that's what we want to be thinking about. We want to be careful not to say, oh, look at this resistant person. I'm doing my best and they just, they don't care. They don't notice, they're too hard to work with kind of thing. And we want to instead go, how can I be doing this differently? Where am I maybe getting this wrong? How does this person feel on the other side of me? That's where our thinking should be. Okay, that's very important, I think. So we'll close with an example of this. A lot of times people who work in care homes have a lot of different examples of this kind of thing. Some people really do struggle to receive care. Some people take it really well, and some people find it harder. This is particularly the case if they are grieving. When someone is grieving, it's really hard to receive. They're a lot of times isolated, they're sad, they're locked in anger, these kinds of things. And what people who work in care homes or nurses or medical staff will say, it's sometimes hard to get through to some people, right? And some people can be better at getting through to someone in this state of being than other people. Some people have the knack, they have the gift, it's really true. And I remember a woman who worked in a care home, she was actually gifted, and a man had entered after the loss of his wife, and different illnesses were kind of becoming more progressed, and he needed a care home, and this is certainly not what he wanted. So he'd recently lost his wife, the illness was becoming worse, And now, of course, he was losing his own home that he had lived in for the last 40 years. Okay, lots to grieve, right? And this carer understood that this man was grieving. He was a very cantankerous man. And a lot of the people working there and the staff had a very difficult time with him. And he wouldn't receive from any of them. He was very difficult. He wouldn't take his meds. He was, doing all these bad things. He was being a bad care object, She knew it was grief. She understood the terrain of this. And she had overheard him complaining to someone, one of the people who had given him his lunch, complaining about the cake that they had given him. He hated the cake, didn't like this cake, and this carer was a bit exasperated by him and just left the food there and kind of walked out. And she went in and she was kind of pottering around in his room, and he didn't mind her as much. And she said, "You don't like that cake?" "No, I don't like that cake either." And she said, "What kind of cake do you like?" And he said, "Oh, my wife used to make this German chocolate cake. It's really good. I liked that cake. This is awful stuff. This is terrible." And it was all about how bad this was. And she said, "Oh, it sounds really good. I bet it was great, And a couple of days later, she came in with a German chocolate cake, right, that she had made. And she left it for him there. And he was in cantankerous form that day, and he sniffed at it. He didn't even acknowledge it. And she was a little bit hurt. Okay? And so she left, and that was fine. She didn't take it personal, She knew this was a hard day for him, probably a lot of grief in the day. He wasn't speaking to anybody. And the next day she came back, that next morning, he had taken a piece of the cake. She could see that he had eaten a piece of the cake, just a little tiny piece. And she wasn't sure what to do about this. And this is what I'm talking about with the reciprocity. This is what I really want us to think. She was worried. Do I move into this or do I stay back? She was thinking, if I acknowledge that he's eaten the cake, is that going to make him shy? And will he retreat from me? And there was a chance that would happen. And she thought, but I don't want to say nothing about it. Trying to build a little relationship, a little dynamic with this man, And she wasn't sure what to do. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's hard. Do I move in? Do I stay back? You never know where you should be in it. And so she made a decision, and this is what she did. And to my mind, this was pitch perfect. This was the way to go about it. So she said to him, John, I was coming into work today. I had the worst day. I was late. I dropped my daughter off to school. She got in trouble at school. Then I was late coming into work. I got in trouble coming into work. She said, I was having such a bad day. She said, I was just thinking all these bad thoughts in my head. And she said, and then I came in here and I saw that John had eaten a little piece of my cake. She said, you made my day. And she walked out of the room. And she just left that with him. Now, this is important. What's actually going on here? That's a subtle thing. What she is showing John is this is reciprocal. I'm coming in to care for you. I know sometimes you don't want my care. I know you don't want to be in a position to receive my care. I know you'd rather your wife's cake, right? But you made my day today. You gave me something. You and I were in this together. We're working well together. And he gradually, over time, really warmed up to her. But it was that reciprocity that was doing it. She was drawing him into that reciprocity, even in the midst of this grief. That's the important takeaway for us. That's what we're going for. Even in grief, we are going for the reciprocity. I'm helping you, you're helping me, we're in it together. I am glad to be here with you. I am glad to be a part of your care process. I'm also receiving something from this. That's very important, I think.